We're looking at video from social media that we're told is of protesters tearing down a poster of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei in Iran. And that's a once unthinkable act there. It's one of the most repressive countries on earth, as you know. Other protesters there, as you can see, they're shouting, we're told, for support for the House of Pahlavi. That means the Prince Reza Pahlavi, the son of the Shah and the representative of the monarchy. Some even calling for the king to, quote, return to the country. And there are growing street protests that are continuing for a fourth day, some wondering if they are now at a tipping point against the Islamic regime that could finally lead to its downfall. Joining us now is Alireza Jafarzadeh. He's Deputy Director of the U.S. Office of the National Council of Resistance of Iran in Washington and author of the book, The Iran Threat. Alireza, always good to see you. First question.
Thank you so much.
What's your reaction when you see that? When you see the Khamenei poster being brought down, did you expect such widespread protest to suddenly explode?
Well, certainly I did expect that because this is not happening overnight. There have been weeks and months of anti-government demonstrations prior to that that was primarily focused on the corruption and the plundering of the wealth. But the tipping point was on Thursday when in Mashhad, large demonstrations started focusing on Khamenei, the supreme leader, and Rouhani, the president, chanting death to Khamenei, death to Rouhani, and then it suddenly expanded to other cities. As we speak, so far, 80 cities have been engulfed in anti-government demonstrations. Just today, 37 cities were involved in the demonstrations against the regime, people chanting death to Khamenei, death to Rouhani, and they were saying we want independence, freedom, and an Iranian republic. That's the kind of government they like to see. And I think what you see is very reminiscent of the 2009 uprising, but I feel it's far deeper than that and a lot more promising. Because now on the top, there is a big rift among the different factions of the regime. Each faction is blaming the other. Second, in terms of the population, the discontent is so deep and widespread, and it expanded to other cities much more than it was in 2009. Third, there is an organized opposition. You know, the network of the Mujahideen Khalq, or the MEK, that's been active in Iran. This is the group that exposed all the major nuclear sites of Iran. That's the group that has been the main victim of political executions in Iran over the past 3 decades. Over 90% of those executions belong to this group. And most of the political prisoners right now belong to this group.
Well,
so
that's your group. And the point is, the government, you know, one of the spokesmen for the government is blaming your group. They're blaming you for this unrest.
Well, certainly, just this past Friday, 7 Friday prayer leaders in various cities, including Mashhad, where the whole thing sparked from, talked about the MEK, showing the fear of the government because they know this is the group that has the ability to organize. It has the whole history and background of standing up against the Iranian regime, and it has a very clearly defined leadership and ready to pay the price, because in order to lead the opposition, to lead the movement, you need to be ready to pay the price and be out there day in and day out and be among the population as the network of the MEK is right now.
But this wasn't supposed to happen. I mean, you got the Iranian nuclear deal. You know, they got $1 billion or $1.5 billion. I mean, what happened to all that money? It went right into the IRGC, went right into the Iranian military, not to the people. This isn't what we were told was going to happen.
Well, Eric, I think whatever that sounded to be benefiting the Iranian regime over the past few years is now coming back to haunt them. Because all the money that was provided to the Iranian regime that actually did benefit the Revolutionary Guards, did benefit their network in Syria, in Yemen, in Bahrain, and Lebanon, and other places, is now coming back to haunt them because the people say that the money shouldn't go there. They're saying, you know, leave alone Syria, think about us. They're saying no Gaza, no Lebanon, you know, my life is for Iran.
So how far does this go? I mean, we saw what happened in the Green Revolution, and President Obama came under some criticism for not at first speaking out strongly. Now you got President Trump. You know, here are the tweets today. The whole world understands the good people of Iran want change. Other than the vast military power of the United States, that Iran's people are what their leaders fear most. The USA is watching very closely for human rights violations. You've got the president very strongly coming out in support of these demonstrators.
And Eric, I think that's very significant because you remember in 2009 when people expected the President of the United States to stand with them when he didn't, and he was just waiting for the movement to crush so that they can go back to negotiations. People showed their sentiments in the streets by saying, Obama, Obama, are you with them, with the regime, or with us? So showing that they really want to see support of not just the President of the United States, but all of the free world. And it's so important that President Trump has taken the stance over the past 4 days, every day making a statement very clearly showing his support on the side of the Iranian people.
And
I think there's a lot more.
Will that make a difference? Finally?
It certainly makes a huge difference because it shows a lot of encouragement, creates encouragement among the population, creates fear among the ranks of the Iranian regime, which is very, very divided right now. It creates fear among the ranks of the Revolutionary Guards. And I think that needs to be coupled with specific steps, not sending arms or troops or money to the opposition. They don't need that. But taking specific measures that would weaken the regime, such as designating the top officials of the regime as major violators of human rights because they have been involved in the killing of so many people over the past few years, or imposing new sanctions that would limit the resources of the Iranian regime.
Well, we'll see if the government of the United States can take some of those actions as those demonstrations continue. We hope they're peaceful. But the Iranian people are speaking out.